they're not.
Yo, what's up, people? This is Gary A. Swaby, and I'm not actually hosting the show today, but this is episode 187, and Richard Bailey is here. He's just grabbing his headset, but also here we got Max. What's up, Max?
How's it going, guys?
Doing good. And JJ, what's up, JJ?
What's going on, gang? Yo, 187 is a bad number, isn't it? Isn't it supposed to be like the police code for like homicide? There's a whole movie based on that. No wonder Rich wasn't here a second ago.
Yeah, he had to prepare for this, man. He had to prepare for episode 187, but he is here now and he has his headset. So, Rich, you can take over because last week I had to do this hosting thing, but I wasn't really good at it. So I'm happy that you're back now.
You were great at it.
Take over, Rich.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
So first and foremost, I do apologize for the the slight impromptu introduction because I literally told Gary I need to get my headset right as soon as I didn't know he already hit the button. So my apologies, but I also disagree, Gary. I think you did an excellent job last week. Yeah, and I would like to also thank both you, Max, and Weapon X for the appearances as well. I think you guys did a good show. I know you probably had a few technical issues, but I still enjoyed the show. And
Well, that's good
also,
to hear.
oh yeah, I also want to give a shout out to the people that left comments because I saw a couple people did watch the show, so thank you very much. But yeah, we're back for another week. As Gary already said, this is episode 187. No, there are no police references in this episode, not anymore. So you already gave everybody their introduction. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start, we're going to do our normal format. So why don't you guys let me know what you have been playing? So how about you go first, Mr. Lugo, and let us know what you've been playing.
There we go. Okay, I was trying to unmute it. Yeah, I've been playing a lot. I've been playing a ridiculous amount of games and a ridiculous amount of stuff for work and for various different reasons. So for the first real big one, I have to say, and it came out like last week or the week prior to it, Final Fantasy 15. I mean, me, Gary, and Max did an episode of Turn-Based where we talked about it. I did the review. It's on the site right now. If you haven't already seen it, you probably saw it when we were talking about it a while back. I gave it an 86 out of 100. I felt that was a fair score for what Final Fantasy 15 ended up becoming. A long wait. Was it really worth it the entire time? I leave that up to the listeners and the viewers to decide. Besides that, it's no secret now, I've actually been playing a lot of Dead Rising 4. Main reason, full disclosure, is because I'm writing the guide for Dead Rising 4 on IGN. And I've been playing a ridiculous amount of it. I've been doing all types of stuff with it. My opinions on the game removed from the actual work. I think it's the more easier of the Dead Rising titles. We were talking about this earlier prior to recording. I think it's the more easier of the titles. I think that it has a different kind of sense of humor, that it's still cheesy and off the wall, but a little bit different than the previous games, which I think is fine. Besides that, also, I'm still reviewing it, even though it's taking me a while, but because we got the game late. Dragon Ball Fusions on Nintendo 3DS. That's another game I've been playing. Again, if you like Dragon Ball Z and you want to see more of those characters in that world and just a lot of what-if scenarios, kind of like in the same vein as like Xenoverse or Xenoverse 2 or any of the other mix-up Dragon Ball games, this one's pretty interesting. And again, I'll have more on that probably later in the week as I finish it up. And then, of course, all the other games that I had the chance to play throughout the course of PlayStation experience. But I'll get to that later after everybody talks about what they've been playing. So that's what I'll say for now. I've been really playing a lot of video games lately.
Sounds good. Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed the Final Fantasy 15 review. So great job on that. I definitely need to check out the game. But, man, I don't know how I'm going to make time to play this when I'm playing all this other stuff that I'll get into in a little bit. But before I do all that, Max, how about you let us know what you've been playing?
All right. Well, I finally was able to play Final Fantasy 15 a week after release, and I'm about 20 hours in now. And I agree with a lot of JJ's review going into it. I made sure to read it a little bit after I was playing through just to get my own impressions of things. And it's a pretty cool game so far. There's some weird design choices that we actually talked about on the Turn-Based podcast, but overall I have some pretty positive impressions of it, and I'm excited to play more of it. Halo 5 came out with a custom games browser for the first time ever in the series, which is something I did back in Halo 3. I had a bunch of friends and we would play custom games all the time. Like every weekend we had custom game nights and everything. So that dropped on the 8th, I believe. And me and a couple buddies went back to that and played some Halo 5 like the good old days, which was pretty awesome. And then I have just been playing a lot of Rocket League, actually. I've been getting higher and higher into the ranks. I'm getting to the ranks I never thought I would be able to get to before, like the superstar ranks and everything. I'm just about there. And it's pretty cool because now it feels kind of natural. I remember first starting, I was like, how do these people play this way? I have no idea how, but I'm starting to see myself being able to get that good if I put the time into it, which is pretty cool. But other than that, not been playing too much. Most of my time when I'm able to play has been going towards Final Fantasy because I want to try and finish that so we can do a spoiler cast for the game. And also just because I'm enjoying the game. It's fun as hell.
Oh, hey, no, sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of people. We are going to be doing our best games of 2016 list very soon on the website. I do believe of everything that I've seen so far, Final Fantasy 15 is going to be on that list. So I'll be curious to see what the final 10 are, but I think it's a safe bet that that'll be on the list because a lot of you guys seem to enjoy that. So I definitely have to make time to check it out. So Gary, how about you? What have you been playing? I know you've been playing Final Fantasy 15 and Overwatch, correct? But what else besides those?
Well, I'm gonna surprise you. I've been playing Overwatch and Final Fantasy 15. So yeah, pretty much you guessed it. Yeah, Overwatch, they season 3 started actually, which is pretty cool. I like that they've actually they haven't solved the problem completely, but there's now a penalty for people who leave competitive matches because competitive is really important, and like if you have people leaving, that kind of imbalances the team and ruins your odds of winning. And winning is such a big deal in competitive mode because you want to get those points. So now there's a penalty, for actually leaving a match. So I've only actually had like 2 matches now where people have actually left, compared to before in season 2, like people used to leave all the time and it kind of ruined the experience a little bit because you felt like you were wasting your time. So I'm glad they sort of addressed that issue. And I'm just waiting for the Christmas update now, which I believe comes out this Tuesday. So I can't wait for that. And also Final Fantasy 15, of course. I'm really enjoying the game now. I'm not that far into the game as what I should be because I'm like 30 to 40 hours now, I think, because I played it a lot like over the past few days. But yeah, I've been trying not to rush through the story, but JJ has kind of told me something that about the game that will kind of persuade me to keep going through the story now. So I am going to try and get through it a little bit more, but I've just been, enjoying all the side stuff that you can do, the fishing, the hunting, and all that stuff. I like the feeling of being on a journey with these cool characters and stuff. But yeah, we talked about that in depth on the turn-based, so definitely check that out. I will put a sample of the turn-based at the end of this co-op episode, so you have to listen to the audio version and you'll get to hear it. So yeah, go to the site and you can listen to the audio version, and you'll hear the sample at the end, and you'll get to hear some of the discussion we had because we went real in depth with Final Fantasy 15. We didn't talk spoilers because, as the guys said before, we will do a spoiler version eventually. That will be like the part 2 version. So look out for that. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing this week.
Sounds good. Yeah. I do have Overwatch. I still haven't had a chance to play it. So yeah, man, I'm doing horrible with this back catalog of games. I got to improve. So we'll see what happens. I have but a couple of days to play a lot of this other stuff because I also have to vote on the best games of 2016. So we'll see about that. As for what I've been playing, I have been playing Dead Rising 4. My review was nearly complete. I enjoy the game a lot. I saw there's been a lot of criticism about the game. A lot of things that were taken out of the game. and then of course the ending, which I'm not gonna say any spoilers, but it's maybe not quite as satisfying as it should be because it doesn't really conclude the story. And then of course the controversy that the DLC will conclude the story. So I don't think that's a good decision that Capcom made with that particular way to approach the story. But from what I have played so far, the game is fantastic. Look for my review sometime this week. I will try to get it done as soon as possible, but we got a pretty busy schedule over here as we're wrapping up stuff at the end of the year. I also got to play what is by far, in my opinion, the game that I know everybody in this call on this show right now they are enjoying Final Fantasy 15, but I am playing the game that everyone on this show, once they play it, they're going to be like, oh, hands down, this is the best game of 2016, and it's a game called The Last Guardian. Yeah, a game that has been criticized time and time again by me of all people. I had a chance to play it, and I was on the Throwdown talking about the game a couple of days ago. I had some more time with the game, and I have to say that the game is not what I would have expected. Now, I did play Shadow of the Colossus a long time ago. I don't really recall everything that happened in that particular game. This is a game, though, that requires patience, and it's not a game for everybody because, I'll put it to you this way. If you have ever had a pet, and you have ever had to teach your pet how to do certain things, well, if you like that type of stuff, you may like this game because you get very frustrated trying to control Trico is his name, the character, the animal. I mean, it's challenging in a sense. It has a lot of different puzzles and stuff like that. But as I said before, if you don't have patience, then you more than likely will not want to you may not want to play this game. I know a friend of the site, Mr. Hip Hop Gamer, has said that the game is absolutely horrible. And, and it's all because, he doesn't like playing these games that require patience. He also criticized Bloodborne as well because it was ridiculously difficult for him, I guess. So as I said, it's not a game for everybody. But to me, I think the game is great. It's not perfect. Okay, it has a lot of issues because, again, this is a game that should have came out last generation. And you can see that by how some of the stuff is designed in the game when they have certain button prompts to tell you how to do something that you already know how to do. Late into the game, you still get these prompts. Stuff like that is a little annoying. But overall, the game is still good. It looks absolutely fantastic. And I think that is probably the one thing about the game that is just like, it's very breathtaking to look at. Some stuff you may say is a little rough around the edges, but from what I've seen so far, the graphics, the game looks fantastic. But again, it's a game that requires patience. You have to get used to certain things, and of course, how to. You just have to basically be willing to put in the time to learn how to do certain things. Once you have done that, then you can see, okay, this is a pretty good, entertaining game. But by the way, I was joking when I said that you guys will think this is your best game of 2016 because I don't think, as I said, it's not for everybody. And I haven't played Final Fantasy 15 yet, so I can't say whether or not it's better than Final Fantasy 15. That's just, I think it's a game that a lot of people thought was going to be a failure. And a lot of people also thought Final Fantasy 15 was going to be a failure also. So it's good to see that both of those games are actually very, very good. So
yeah, I actually got The Last Guardian as well. I just haven't played it yet. Obviously, I have Final Fantasy, but I will try and play that before the end of the year, just so I can give a good analysis of it.
Oh yeah. I mean, listen, it's not. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it is not for everybody. But if you enjoyed Bloodborne, you were very patient when you played that game. You know it's a very difficult game, much like the Dark Souls games. This is a game that is also a bit on the difficult side because it doesn't exactly tell you how to do certain things. Some things it does tell you, but you have to also learn other things. So again, it takes time and dedication, but if you are willing to put in the time and dedication, then it may actually be worth checking out. But as I said before, I know a lot of people maybe thought that I was going to be a Xbox fanboy and say, oh yeah, this game is trash. No, I told you guys multiple times, I play everything. So I was surprised I enjoyed the game because it's still a very, very good game. But
now, Rich, quick question. Did you
Yeah.
run into any of the technical issues that a lot of people and a lot of reviews were talking about when the reviews started coming out for Last Guardian? Because I know a lot of people were complaining about stuff with the camera and a few other things here and there.
Well, yeah, the camera is an issue. The camera is definitely an issue. That was an issue to me from the minute I started the game, because you have to control the camera. Outside of that, I haven't run into any other technical issues quite yet. But again, I'm still very early in the game, so I don't know if there's any serious technical issues as you get towards the end or towards the middle part of the game. But I mean, outside of that, yeah, the camera is definitely an issue. It's something you have to get used to, because you can move that camera in any direction, and that is something where a lot of people may not like that. It would have been good if they had an option to change the setting of that. But that camera stuff is definitely an issue. But outside of that, I haven't encountered anything yet. Now, next week, when we talk about some other things, I may have a lot more to say about other issues that I have seen. But so far, yeah, the camera, maybe that's the only issue. And then outside of that, of course, you have to learn how to do all this other stuff. I don't like, again, that the prompts always come up after you have already learned how to jump. You'll be well past the introductory beginning of the game, and then these prompts are still there. This is how you jump. Listen, I already know how to jump, so I don't know why the hell you're telling me this for a second, third, fourth, fifth time. Doesn't make sense. But outside of that, the game is I think is pretty good. Now we'll see what I have to say next week after I spent some more time with it. So yeah, that pretty much concludes what I've been playing and what we've all been playing so far this week. So we are going to go ahead and jump right into the topics. And we're going to let you kick off the show, Mr. Lugo, because you went to PSX. You can tell us a little bit about your experience, whether or not this was the best show that you experienced all year. So feel free to take it away.
All right, so to preface everything with PSX, there was a lot that went down at PSX for the 2 days that I was out in California. That was my first time in Anaheim, which was very cool. But prior to that, I actually went to another gaming event, which I'll talk about more next week, probably on the next episode of the Co-op, which I'll get into a lot of detailed stuff because I saw some interesting stuff for a game that's coming out far out into the future. But after I saw that, I went to PSX. And PSX was one of those events where it feels like PAX. If you remember, again, like going to PAX East with me way back when, it feels like a PAX itself, but it's on a totally different level. Like this is more the PlayStation crowd. Like there's strictly a lot of PlayStation fans that went here, a lot. And I mean that in like the most utmost craziest sense of the word, because the line for general admission just to get inside to PSX was absolutely huge. It just kept going. Let me put it that way. Like if you ever been to any of the lines on like Universal Studios or a Walt Disney World or Six Flags, and you just look at the line for some rides and it just keeps going. It was like that, but times like almost like a good couple thousand people. It was insane. But luckily enough, we didn't have to deal with that when we finally got inside, right? The first thing we went to was obviously the showcase. The showcase was awesome. I feel like it was one of the better conferences that Sony has thrown, even at, matched up to their E3 conferences. The amount of hype, the amount of excitement, the amount of crazy cool announcements that came out of that showcase, that press conference there, was awesome. I was in the second row now. According to a couple of people that I've talked to, they actually saw me on the live stream that PlayStation had, because I was in this front row with a friend of ours, Robert Workman, the DCD. I was sitting next to him and a few other people over at the ARG podcast. And it was another retro gaming podcast. We were all sitting together, and it was really cool just being there, right in front when all those crazy announcements were going on. Again, there was huge pops for the Uncharted DLC content, The Lost Legacy, which I swear to God, everybody and their mother in that room thought it was Tomb Raider when they first saw that. Nobody, at least in that room where I was sitting, got it that it was Uncharted. They all swore up and down that was Lara Croft. But it was a very cool kind of like fake out, a very cool reveal seeing that DLC go down. Same thing, a huge pop for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It was insane. Seeing Mega Man as the first image that you see of that game is very telling about what Capcom is up to. Again, we're going to talk a little bit more about Capcom later, but just seeing that trailer was unreal. I swear it was going to be called Marvel vs. Capcom 4, but I understand why they're calling it Infinite, and that's a whole nother conversation in of itself. Now, again, to kind of like speed things up, a lot of you guys could see the conference anywhere on the internet right now, but a lot of the announcements were pretty crazy. The pop and the closing out for The Last of Us Part 2, I thought was really well done. All of that was done purposefully as far as like bookending the entire showcase, which I think was great. I think it's very cool that now we finally see and we actually know that The Last of Us 2 is officially coming, which is awesome. And again, a whole bunch of other games that were revealed throughout the show. The first gameplay of Crash Bandicoot, which I'll talk about in a bit, that was really cool to see, and the way it looked was phenomenal. Some of the other games, Gran Turismo Sport, that was pretty damn cool, as well as all the other neat little surprises that we got, Patapon, Parappa the Rappa, the list goes on and stuff. And again, all those announcements, all those crazy stuff you could find on the internet. I'm pretty sure you guys talked about the stuff that went down at PSX on the last co-op when I wasn't here. But what went down at the show? I actually got to play a lot of games at the show. Surprisingly, in a public event, I actually got to play a lot of games, not just for having appointments like what we normally do. Let's start off with the big ones, because there was a lot of big games that I played there that I had the time to really sit down and get at least about 10 minutes or so worth of game time, actually controlling what was going down. So the first game I had played in any sort of official capacity was Crash Bandicoot. And that was a really cool moment for me because I've been looking forward to that for a while. Now, how does it feel? How does it play? It feels exactly how you remember the original Crash Bandicoot games were feeling. I would have tuned this more to maybe Crash 2 or 3, even though what the segment that I was actually playing, I played 2 levels, okay, and watched a cutscene of Crash 1. Now, Crash Bandicoot 2 and Crash Bandicoot Warped weren't there. They did talk about it, and they said, like, again, they're going to get the same exact treatment as Crash Bandicoot, the original, which I think is great. According to the producer, I believe that I was talking to, executive producer of the game, she was telling me that most of the stuff that you remember from the original Crash games are going to be there. They're not changing a lot of drastic stuff, with the exception of a few things that were problems in the older games. Crash Bandicoot 1, if you guys remember, if you ever played the original Crash Bandicoot, and if you're listening, it had a problem with the save feature. Like, you couldn't save anywhere like in the later games. They're actually implementing a save anywhere type of feature for Crash 1, which is great. Little things like that, or not really little, but things like that are really helpful. It's going to just make the experience all the more better. The music sounds on point. It sounds phenomenal. The controls are smooth. It's solid on point. Again, the visuals just look great. Everything is awesome about it so far. I can't wait to actually see Crash Bandicoot 2, because Crash Bandicoot 2 was my game growing up. I loved Crash 2. I remember so much about that game. It's incredible. But can't wait to see the rest of those games in the Insanity trilogy. That's what I think they're calling it, Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, if I'm not correct about that. But besides that, what are some of the other big games I got to play there? Again, there's a lot I'm running through here, so bear with me, guys. There's a lot to get through. Second big game I got to play, which is one that, Rich, I've been waiting for a while, Persona 5. I got to play Persona 5 for the first time in the first public playable demo of that game, which I tell you right now, it was definitely worth the wait. It feels very good. The section that I actually got to play of Persona 5 was an actual dungeon that you're roaming around with your party. Like, you already have most of your party members with you, and they're all following you and stuff, and you're trying to rob this museum, I think it is, and you're trying to sneak past a lot of the guards, which look like, shadows. If you guys have ever played Persona 3 or Persona 4, you know about the shadows and the different enemies and demons that you come into contact with. They take on the form of like guards that are patrolling around the area, and you have to use stealth to kind of get around them, or to get first strikes on them, to get like, an ambush on them. And it's very cool. They have different additions to the battle system where you could attack normally, like with a physical attack with your weapon. You could actually use a gun attack, which again is a whole separate part of the battle system. And then you obviously have your persona, which is with your traditional spells like Zeo and everything else that comes along with it. It looks great. It sounds great. It feels great. It made me want even more. And the crazy thing is about this game, we haven't seen a lot of it. Like, we've seen promotional material, and we haven't seen a lot of gameplay out there. And again, this being the first public gameplay where anybody's had any real time with this game like that, and everybody's salivating at the mouth. Like, this game, so far, everything about Persona 5 looks phenomenal, and that's a great thing to see. Now,
wait, real quick,
what's up?
Because I know the game already came out in Japan.
Mhm.
Have you heard of any like reception towards the game? Like, is it well received and everything?
In Japan, there's been opinions thrown about here and there, and a lot of people aren't really talking about it besides like spoilers and stuff, and I've been avoiding a lot of spoilers. But from the people that have been playing the Japanese version that understand Japanese and stuff, they're saying that it's awesome. They're saying that it's really, really good. And so far, from what I've seen for the dub version that we're getting here in the United States, again, I should have said it before, this was the first public playable demo of the game here in the US, because again, it came out in Japan a while back. I think it came out in Japan, what was it, like October, November, something like that. But it's coming out in February for us here in the US. So far, everything I've seen about the game and what I saw firsthand at PSX, awesome. I can't wait. I cannot wait to play that game.
I think it got pushed back, didn't it, to April or something?
No, I think it's still February.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Am I wrong on that? Because I know there was originally it was supposed to come out in October, I think it was, or September, and then it got pushed back to February, which is fine with me. If we could get clarification on that, let me know.
Yeah,
but
no,
either way,
it's not February anymore because they wanted to work on the localization further. So
okay, so it's
now,
April.
Now it's April. Yeah, April 4th. And
I know, and there was supposed to be like we get the Japanese dub as a free download, the entire Japanese audio track, I think it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so either way, everything I've seen about this game is awesome, and everything I've seen with people talking about this game and the reactions I saw from people playing it at PSX, awesome. That's a great sign, and I can't wait. I can't wait to play that game more. So besides that, what else did I get to play? I got to play Horizon Zero Dawn. Now, admittedly, I didn't get a lot of time with Horizon, and I feel like the demo that I played probably wasn't the best demo because even though I got a feel of the controls, I got to see the world, I got to see the creatures, the machines and stuff, all of that was great and it was phenomenal. The music sounded awesome. I didn't feel like, I was doing a lot in the demo that they provided because the demo they gave us was where you had this small area that you could run around in and kind of like interact with some of the enemies and do all these different things. And then if you go past a certain point, like a certain marker and stuff, it reset the demo. And I was like, okay. I mean, you didn't really get any sense of like story content. They talked, a little bit of dialogue here and there, but nothing too crazy. But overall, I still liked what I saw. I can't wait to play that game. I think it's going to be really cool. And
what do you
I think a lot
of
of
the
people
engine?
are excited about it. Robin?
What do you think of the engine?
Like how it looks like visually and stuff?
And like how it runs from what you could tell so far.
Now, I played it, I think, on an original PlayStation 4 because I think on PS Pro, it's going to run at 1080p 60 frames per second. The one I played on was running at 30 frames per second because they had this screen that was showing the game running at 60 that was on a whole separate screen that wasn't playable. And then all the demo kiosks that were playable were all running at 30 frames per second. And it still looked good. Even on a regular PlayStation 4, it still looked great for what it was. I think that, does it look faster, smoother on 60 frames per second? Yes, obviously, and such. But it still looked great, and I can't wait to play more of it when it comes out eventually.
Cool.
Okay, so besides that, there was a lot of other games I played. I got to play more Drawn to Death. That was another demo that I played before in the past. I think I played it at E3 a while back, but I got to play it again now. And it was cool because we had David Jaffe near us, watching everybody play the game and stuff, and he was talking to people and such. And it was really cool. It felt good. They're still taking their time with the game. That game is not going to be free to play anymore, from my understanding. And so far, it looked like it's shaping up pretty good. I enjoyed myself. Again, not a lot of time spent with it. It was still cool, though. I played one match, which I got the highest kill streak and the highest amount of kills in that game that I played with everybody. But it was all in good fun. That was cool. I got to play more Neo. Okay, now Neo, if you guys remember, I played at E3 with you, Rich. Actually, I got to play Neo with you when we went to the demo. I didn't play a lot of Neo here at PSX because I'd already seen it. Again, that game is still hard as balls. That game still is intimidating for what it is. And again, if you're the Bloodborne or Dark Souls crowd, you're going to love that game. Funny enough, right, before I continue, a lot of games that I did see at PSX this year are emulating a lot of the formula from Dark Souls and Bloodborne in like a more disturbing amount of ways. Because I saw a couple of games, I forgot what its name. I remember seeing this side scroller that, again, has been getting a lot of traction that had the same system in combat as Dark Souls. And, in some ways, that kind of like, that type of system or that gameplay style translates well, and other ways it doesn't. But I'm starting to see a lot of games start to emulate that. One of the games that I did see that I got to play that was I think it was its first time being playable was at PSX, was Ascendance. Now, Ascendance is a game that plays and feels like Dark Souls or Bloodborne, but it has a very big martial arts undertone to it. Now, you guys know I love Kung Fu movies. I love classic kung fu movies, Bruce Lee style movies, Shaw Brothers, and the whole thing. This reminds me of like classic Shaw Brothers, where again, you have different fighting styles. You could come up with different techniques. When you level up and you gain different abilities, they're like your different fighting styles that you could customize to different moves that you could chain together when you're fighting against other people. And there's a PvP element to it where you could get into like duels and stuff. That was actually kind of cool. Now, because again, the game is kind of complex in that way, I didn't really do that well. I got my ass kicked pretty bad with the different people I was playing against. However, the kind of like the basic concepts of it are still pretty neat. And I want to see more of it before, I can really kind of like flesh out my opinions on it. Okay, because again, I only played like one demo of it. And again, feels very similar to Dark Souls and Bloodborne, but martial arts stuff. Now, besides that, there was a couple other games I want to talk about, one of which, okay, was probably the worst demo I've ever had with the developer. The absolute worst. And I'm talking garbage. I'm talking fail. I'm talking about something not to do. If you're an indie dev and you listen to the Co-op podcast, or if you know someone that's an indie dev that, they don't listen to the show, make them listen to this because I feel like it's very important for a number of different reasons. I got to play a demo for a game called Fantasy Strike. Now, if you guys don't know what Fantasy Strike is, I'm pretty sure a lot of you guys are probably hearing about this for the first time, right? Max, somebody was asking about Shenmue. Yeah, Max, you could talk. It's okay. It's okay, son.
I know. I figured I wouldn't interrupt.
No, go ahead. Somebody was asking about what now?
About
Shenmue?
just if there was any Shenmue at the show. I figured for when you're done with everything else.
No, there was no Shenmue.
Yeah, I was gonna say I could answer that question later, and I could say hell no, it wasn't, because that game is not coming out until maybe 2018.
Yeah, right.
It's just like.
But yeah, there was no Shenmue. There was no Final Fantasy VII Remake. There was no Kingdom Hearts 3. There was no Kingdom Hearts 2.8, funny enough. There was a lot of games that you would have expected, maybe a little nod or so, that weren't there. And I think PlayStation was kind of clear on that when they showed the list of developers and publishers that were going to be there this year. But either way, moving on. Fantasy Strike, okay? This game was being developed by an ex-Street Fighter dev. If you guys know who David Sirlin is, David Sirlin was actually the guy who helped get Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix off the ground that came out a while back. He was the one that made a lot of the decisions with that game that changed it up. And a lot of people in the fighting game community and people that love fighting games that are enthusiasts of it are very divided about his decisions and stuff. But he's got this new game called Fantasy Strike, okay? Now, this was the worst demo I've ever been to because I felt like this sense of, arrogance and this sense of, pompousness with what was being presented about the game. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. This isn't me to kind of like, being rude or anything to David or anybody, the team over there. But I think it's very telling of a group of publisher or developer when you have stuff that's visually wrong with your game, that's mechanically and, program-wise, I'm guessing, wrong with your game that I could see, and I know nothing about game programming whatsoever, as well as the person next to me, and you're just trying to come up with excuses when you're trying to talk about it. I remember going up to him, or going up to the person that was there and asking, like, okay, what's this game about? Okay, it's a fighting game. What's going on with it? And they were explaining it to me, and I was playing it, with another person, this other woman that was there demoing the game with me. And it's like every time something would like visually look like a bug or a glitch or something that was like look terrible, some of these games are not in their finished state, obviously. That's how it is for most of the demos that we saw at PSX. But then some are better presented than others. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to have a bug or going to have a glitch in your game where you have a fighting game and your character is hitting another character from like half screen with a physical attack. Not like, you know what I mean? Like there's certain things that you take the time to polish out and stuff. And every time like something like that would happen on screen as during my demo, the person would come out like with these crazy excuses, or when I would ask them about it, they would get almost upset that I was asking them about it, which is our job as media people. Like, I'm pretty sure some of you guys in the chat, when we go to these events and stuff, you want us to ask the tough questions. You want us to ask the questions that are relevant to what's going on with some of these games, because you guys are going to be the ones buying it and stuff. That's our job. And I just got this real attitude and this real kind of like crappy, outlook when I was going through the demo. And I felt like, something, maybe if you better presented your game a little bit better, people wouldn't feel so down and people wouldn't have to ask these types of questions about your game.
I actually would like to make a very quick statement about that. Now, as you already said, I don't know if there are any indie devs that do watch this or any developer. I just want to make this statement. any developer, whether it's an independent or AAA developer, they have to understand when they are in the business of making games, there's going to be some feedback, which might be critical. You know, I mean, everybody's not going to like their game. They have to know that. Otherwise, why the hell are they developing a game? They have to know there's going to be some people that don't like it, and then there may be some that do. And they should be more receptive to whatever feedback they get, whether positive or negative. I do know like a lot of indie devs, though, and particularly, yeah, like you said, they do have a sense of feeling that type of arrogance, you know, and, you know, they really need to get out of that mindset, because they have to understand that 9 times out of 10, everyone is not going to love their game. There will be some that will love it, but it's not a situation. There's some people out there, believe it or not, that actually don't like Mass Effect, and that is a franchise that I love. So it is what it is. That's all I wanted to say.
But yeah, like, to go off of that, it's not even about that there's bugs or things wrong with your demo and such. I think that's fine. Again, most of the games, if not all the games that I saw at PSX, they are not finished. They are not complete. And they're months, if not year or so away. I mean, I don't think we're going to get, you know, Crash Bandicoot anytime soon. We're definitely not getting, you know, other games that I saw that are big games, you know, anytime soon. We're not getting Persona 5 yet. We're getting it in April. You know, it's still far out. And those games look much more better polished, much more better presented and stuff. And even when something was wrong, you know, that happened in front of me on the demos that I was playing, you know, the person that was there with me, the publisher, or even one of the devs on there would talk to me about it, you know, would be nice about it. I just think that whether you're an indie, whether you're a AAA, whether you're a person in the business or not, a little courtesy and a little professionalism goes a long way, is all I'm saying. And that's where I'll leave that particular game. Now, there was a bunch of other stuff that I saw that I'm going to quickly try to run through again, because I know I'm taking long. I got to play Gravity Rush 2 again. Gravity Rush 2 looks great. It's the same demo that I saw at E3 earlier this year. I can't wait to play more of it. I think it looks cool. I love the music. I love the character, Kat, as well as also her sister. All those different types of characters in that game. Game looks good, and I think a lot of people are actually going to like it. I'd be curious to know if people go back and play the original Gravity Rush or Gravity Rush Remastered after Gravity Rush 2 comes out. A couple other games that I saw. Let me tell you something about VR. Okay, I played a couple VR games when I was at a PSX. I got to mess around with the PlayStation VR. I got to play the X-Wing experience for Star Wars Battlefront. That was freaking cool. That's what is putting me now on the VR train, because that whole experience and what I actually got to see and stuff, you know, I got goosebumps being in the cockpit of an actual, an X-Wing, and seeing a Star Destroyer fly around my ship, or even just flying around and getting into dogfights with, TIE fighters. As a Star Wars fan, that made my hair stand up, and that was awesome. But
Can
to
you
go
turn your
off
head?
Yes, you could turn your head.
Yes. That's so cool. It's so cool.
Yes, you could. And here's the crazy thing, okay? At the end of the demo that I played, okay, because the beginning of the demo, you could look around. You're actually in like a white area, and your X-Wing is there, and you can move around your X-Wing and get a good view of the entire thing. When you actually go through the demo, you're flying, you're escorting a bunch of Rebellion cruiser ships, and a whole squadron is with you. You go into light speed, which is awesome. But at the very end of the demo, after getting into a dogfight with a bunch of, TIE fighters, you look behind you, and there's a Star Destroyer that comes from right behind you over your head. You actually look, and just seeing the size and scope of the Star Destroyer compared to you as it flies above you was chilling. And I was like, okay, this is awesome. I want this. Like, I would totally get a PSVR just for something like that. If I could get more moments like that, that's awesome. That's hands down amazing.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really, more people need to get demos like that. If they have demos at like the Best Buys and stuff, which I'm pretty sure that they did, or if they're going to at some point.
Yeah,
they need to get demos like that. They need demos like that. That's what sold me on VR. I was like, okay. But that wasn't the only VR game that I saw. Now, I'm a little bit shaky with the name on this. Again, I didn't get a card from them. They didn't have any cards presented to me when I went to the demo. But it was this it's something Robinson, where it's like this VR game where you're being escorted, or you have this little companion that's a little baby velociraptor, or baby T-Rex, that's a dinosaur, that, you know, you could do all these different activities and solve puzzles with. It's a very cool VR experience, because the amount of, like, you know, freedom you have to move around and look around your surroundings and stuff really was immersive. And I thought that was the most immersive experience I've had with VR to date, besides the Star Wars one. It was a little bit better than when I actually played Thumper or Res Infinite, where those games were trippy and cool, but they weren't so much immersive as these two games that I played with the PlayStation VR. Now, I also got a chance to play with Akuma in Street Fighter V. that Capcom had they had 3 demos there. They had Resident Evil 7, which was impossible to get into. Okay. For whatever reason, the line was just ridiculously long with Resident Evil 7. There was no way I was going to get into it. And I tried like 3 times to go into it because I want to see Resident Evil 7 in VR, even though it's the same or similar demo that people have right now that they had available at the conference, but I wanted to play it in PSVR. That didn't happen. But I did get to play with Akuma in Street Fighter V. Akuma feels very interesting. He's like a combination of a few of his versions from previous games. He's older. He's got the lion mane, like beard and facial hair and stuff. He looks cool and he feels powerful. And that's cool. And that's all really I could say on it because I only played 1 match with him. I also got to play Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 on PlayStation 4, and it's the exact same game. It's whatever. If you like Marvel 3, then you're going to love that too. Besides that, right, I also got to check out 2 other games from Sega. I got to check out Sonic Mania, and I got to check out Yakuza Kiwami, which is Yakuza 0, which was also next to a Yakuza 6 demo, which was there that I didn't get to play on hand, but I also got to like look at some of the visuals of people that were playing the game. Sonic Mania feels good. Feels exactly like classic Sonic, just with new stuff. Anybody that wanted a classic interpretation of Sonic the Hedgehog, this is your game for you. That you should definitely check it out. I got to play on the Green Hill Zone. It's like a reimagining of it. It was pretty good. The music is great. I love it. Yakuza Kiwami or Yakuza 0, very cool. It has that same crazy over-the-top style from all the previous Yakuza games. This is like a prequel or like a reimagining of the first Yakuza game, I want to say. I'm still a little bit shaky on the details, but it still looks pretty damn cool. It looked pretty fun. And the same thing also with Yakuza 6. Yakuza 6 and Yakuza Kiwami all have like the same type of like little mini games that the series is known for. It's like those ridiculous like mini games where you have like a mud wrestling match between 2 models. You have like, karaoke. You have all these different types of stuff, little mini games, making like ramen for people to make extra cash. It's pretty insane. But overall, still a good presentation, still a good demo. Besides that, I got the chance to play Orcs Must Die Unchained. Now, I never played Orcs Must Die game. This was the first time I was actually getting my hands on it. It was pretty fun. It's like a mixture of tower defense and third-person shooting, and it was pretty cool. It's simple to follow. I didn't get to play a whole lot of it. I got to play at the tutorial level, trying to kind of just get the feel of like how the game is played and stuff. And I enjoyed myself. I wanted to play more, but again, I was like running around all over the place. It was still a good game. I can't wait to see more of it and actually get my hands on it some more. Finally, also, I got to play Pyre again. Now, Rich, and I think also you, Gary, you guys know how much I love Pyre. When I played it at PAX East, I got a chance to play the single-player content of Pyre. This time around, I got to play the multiplayer content with Greg over at Supergiant Games. He actually ran me through some of the multiplayer stuff, and it was really fun. I'll tell you right now, those multiplayer matches get very hype. And I'm curious to see how that's going to take off when the game finally comes out, because when I was talking to Greg, him and the team were talking about seeing if this would kind of like gravitate towards people playing competitively, because the amount of like, intensity of the matches and like the reactions from people and stuff really kind of gave this game, or at least gave the multiplayer of this game, a sense of like playing like an esport. And that was really interesting because that was the first time I really saw a lot of people really get hyped up about something brand new that was just like, came out of nowhere for a game that's primarily, or I should say a developer that's primarily known for their single player content. So this is kind of new territory for them, but Greg and the guys are really doing some phenomenal stuff there. And I had a lot of fun and talking with them afterwards. I invited them to come on the podcast sometime. Hopefully they're able to do so when they're not working on the game, but it was still cool to see that. It was still very, very interesting to see that. Now, one of the trippiest games I got to see. Okay. And I apologize everybody in the chat. I know I'm going long and stuff, but again, there's a lot of games that were that PSX that I saw. So the trippiest game that I got to see was a game called Everything. Now, I don't even know if you could really classify this as a game. I'm pretty sure some of you guys maybe saw some of the footage of this, but basically it's a game to show that everything in life or everything in the universe is connected. You start off as a small little particle or small little kind of like, non-sentient, I guess you could say cell or whatever you want to call it, like a real small particle, like as small as an atom. And then you could casually grow in size, grow in population, and actually start controlling other different types of organisms. You go from like a single-celled organism to a multi-complex celled organism to something that's alive, like a bug. You could turn eventually into like, a rat or kind of like an elephant and stuff. And it gets so wide to even become like, could start controlling galaxies or planets and galaxies. I know at one point I started off as a planet, I eventually, changed up my properties and became a sun. Then I became a cluster of suns. Then from suns, I became a galaxy. And then I became a cluster of galaxies. And then I became a super galaxy. And then I became a mega galaxy. It was absolutely insane, but it was like trippy as hell. Because I remember I was sitting there for like 5 or 10 minutes trying to figure out what the hell to do in this game. And the dev came over to me and he showed me what to do then. And then things started to kind of move a little bit faster. But it was really trippy. The thing is that I didn't really understand or kind of get at first glance, what the game is really trying to accomplish or what is really the point of actually playing it other than the message that they were trying to kind of convey. And again, it's probably still early in development. I don't know when that game's coming out specifically, but I would be curious to know what other stuff that game's going to kind of like present. Again, it's very, very trippy. And I'm curious to know if that could also be played in PlayStation VR, but I digress. I got to play Windjammers. If you guys remember the Windjammers announcement that was during the showcase, they actually had a playable demo there. It's the same game. It's still fun. Great visuals, great music, still cool. I also got to play an indie game called Brawlhalla. Again, I'm pronouncing it wrong. It's like a game that feels very similar to Super Smash Brothers. Has a bunch of original characters. The idea is to kind of knock your opponent off the platform to score points. Again, very, very similar to Smash Brothers, but they got different weapons, different abilities for each character. It was pretty cool. It was a neat little game to play with the first time. Besides that, I got to check out the Destiny December update content, the Sparrow Racing, as well as also the kind of, Christmas setting that's coming to Destiny very, very soon if it's not already out. Again, look cool. I don't play a lot of Sparrow Racing in Destiny, but it was still fun to check out the new maps and stuff. That was very, very interesting. I also got to play this really cool game, but I think Gary's going to like, okay, because Gary, and I think you too, Max, being RPG guys, there's a game that's coming out on PS4 and PS Vita called Fallen Legion. Now, I heard about this game a while back. I think I heard it from the Kind of Funny group from their channel, and I actually got to play it. It's an RPG, okay, where you control every member of your party at the same time, and you go through these like little adventures and stuff trying to save this kingdom that this girl's like a princess of, and it folds all these different types of like stories that happen and such. And as an element of like, choice and, decisions that you make that influence not only your gameplay, but influence the story as well. But it was very fast-paced, very intricate, a very deep fighting system, or battle system, I should say. It really caught me by surprise because it looked great, it sounded great, it played great. The guys were very enthusiastic. The demo that I got to play, it was actually a demo that was just exclusively to PSX, where it's not going to be in the final game. It was a very tough like dungeon that they had where they were like presenting like some enemies and like, really trying to get people to get used to the battle system and really try to utilize all of its different mechanics and stuff. It was very, very cool, and I'm glad it's coming to multiple platforms.
Who actually makes that game?
I'm trying to see because they gave me a button, but they didn't give me their card.
Was it like Japanese style or Western?
It was like anime styled. Okay, it looks a little bit kind of like Vanillaware's art style, but with anime characters. It's a very cool looking game, but again, it's coming out for PS4 and PS Vita. Like I'm pretty sure if you Google it, Fallen Legion on PS4 or PS Vita, it'll come up with them right then and there. I just wish they gave me a card that I had.
Yeah,
Is it a top-down?
What happened?
Is it a top-down or like third person or what?
No, it's not a top-down. It's more attuned to like a side scroller.
Oh shit! Okay.
Like you'll see it. You'll immediately see the art style that I'm talking about. It looks like Vanillaware stuff, but it looks very cool. It played great. I really enjoyed myself with that game. It's interesting. I'm curious to see how it's going to play on PS Vita. Okay, because the demo I played was on PS4, but I saw Vita there. They just weren't running it on Vita at the time. And then also another big game that I actually got to check out, which I have to thank the team for actually allowing me to get a demo for, because the line for it was ridiculously huge, and they actually allowed me to go in front of the line as media to go play it on a separate section. Ukulele. I actually finally got to play Ukulele. And Ukulele is everything that you thought it was going to be. If you're a fan of the classic Rare style platformers, those collectathons and Banjo-Kazooie and Donkey Kong 64, that's what that game is, just with a different skin. Right down to the music and the audio cues. It's very, 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 very similar to classic Rare. And it felt good to play. It felt very fun. Like even the guys that were on the team, I think it was called Team 17, one of the guys was walking me through it, and he was just having a ball explaining all the stuff going on with it to me in the demo. And it was very fun. It's just like running around as Ukulele, doing the different like transformation stuff that they have in there, collecting the little kind of like, items and stuff that you need for some of the side quests to get like these book pages, which, funny enough, right? in every rare game, there's always like that one collectible that you have to get like so much of that's like key to the plot. In Banjo-Kazooie, it was the puzzle pieces. In Donkey Kong 64, it was the bananas, the gold bananas. In Conker's Bad Fur Day, it was the money. In this one, it's actually book pages. So it's kind of a little bit, fun and cheesy to see that kind of like, be transferred over to their next game, which is very cool. It's very awesome. So definitely looking forward to that eventually when it comes out. Final last couple games I'm just going to run through because, again, I'm going way too long. I got to check out Night in the Woods, which is like it's an indie game that has like a very like, I want to say like a 2D dark grim type of style. It's about, a person, just growing up as an adolescent, going through life, stuff over time. It has a lot of different, like, I guess you could say like social commentary on a lot of different things. Some of it, is like an amalgamation of a bunch of different mini games that tell like this larger story. I didn't really get to spend a lot of time with it, but again, one of the devs and one of the people that was working on the game, the producer, was kind of like explaining it to me and stuff, but I need to see more to really kind of get a feel for it. And then finally, last game that I want to talk about that, let me see where did I put it? Last game that I do want to talk about that I saw while I was there and stuff was Let It Die. If you guys remember a while back, I actually got to go to an event for Let It Die. They actually had a booth there, which is pretty cool. The game's still interesting. Again, if you guys haven't already seen my interview with the director of Let It Die, definitely look it up. It's on the website now. You guys can find it both on our YouTube channel and also on the Koalition website. Let It Die borrows a lot of elements from, Dark Souls and such, but it still has that Suda51 styles of humor and such. Even though Suda51 is not taking a hand on the actual game itself, it's still like, again, you could see a lot of elements that are influenced by him here and there. The game is out now on PlayStation 4. You guys can definitely pick it up. They talked about it. It has a very, kooky and wild trailer that they showed during the showcase, which is pretty awesome. But overall, it's still fun nonetheless. So that's the bulk of what I saw at PSX. I mean, if you guys in the chat or you guys here on the panel have any questions about other games I might have seen or not, I know I'm probably forgetting at least one or two things. But there was a lot of cool games that I saw that I got to play.
Well, I ain't got any questions, but I just want to say I definitely need to go to PSX next year because it sounded like you got to play a lot more games than you get to play at E3.
Arguably, yeah. And that's because obviously it's a public event. This time it's not as like corporate or not as like, business stuff as E3 is. But I will say though that going to a lot of these events and stuff, PSX is one of those events that you need a lot of appointments to go play games because the lines get huge.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually was about to ask two questions related to that very quickly. Number one, which games actually had the biggest turnouts in terms of lines? I'm sure Horizon Zero Dawn was one of those games.
Yeah, it was.
But what other games besides that had long lines?
The biggest lines that I saw, some of which I did get to play and some of which I didn't. Horizon, huge line there. Any of the VR stuff that was next to it, because there was GT Sport and there was a couple others that were VR games that I didn't get to play. Riggs, surprisingly enough, Riggs was another one, which I don't understand why. Maybe it's before a bunch of people that didn't get to play PSVR yet. I can understand that. But a lot of the games that are kind of available or like coming up now, if not at this moment, did have a lot of lines. Also, Resident Evil 7, for the PSVR experience had a lot of lines. Persona 5 had a lot of lines, as well as also the Street Fighter 5 kiosk for Akuma had a lot of lines, and also Crash Bandicoot.
Okay, cool. And I have one more question because I know Gary has another question, but my last question is this. Now, I know that for the most part, everything there was stuff that you could play, so they didn't have any showcases there where they're just showing stuff where you walk in there, you sit in the theater and you're watching a presentation like for like say Days Gone or any of the other upcoming titles. They didn't have any of that stuff there.
No, there wasn't any of that. And funny enough, you mentioned Days Gone. Days Gone was not there. God of War was not there. Surprisingly enough, there's a lot of stuff that was not there. That again, I think a lot of us included, really expected to have some sort of presence. But I think that for what was actually there playable on the showroom floor, there was a lot, and it was a lot of good stuff and a lot of great indie games that were all over the place. I just remembered there was another indie game that I got to play called The Way of the Pacifist And it's a beat 'em up, a side-scrolling beat 'em up. But the whole concept and idea behind it is that you're not attacking your enemies, you're letting them attack you, and you're being defensive and you're counterattacking them. And that's how you defeat enemies and stuff. It's a neat little idea, a neat twist on the beat 'em up genre. But point is, there was a lot of playable stuff there. There was no like real showcases that you went to that you just watched stuff. This was all playable stuff at the actual show.
Sounds good. Gary, you said you had one more question.
Oh yeah. Did Max have any questions for JJ real quick? Because mine's my question's gonna kind of branch off into something else.
No, I'm good. I think you did a pretty good job detailing everything. Sounds great. Honestly.
Oh yeah, sounded like it was an awesome show. It's unfortunate that I was unable to make it, but I definitely look forward to going to PSX next year.
I wish you could have gone, man, because you would have had so much fun. Straight up, like there was a lot of games playable that you would have been like, oh, this is pretty cool. Like it was really cool like that. This was one of the first events that I went professionally where I had a lot of time to play games and do work all at the same time. And that was real refreshing because you know how hectic it is at E3 for all of us. Like when we go,
oh yeah,
and even arguably PAX. I would say PAX is a little bit more hectic because of how many people go. This feels like a PAX without the extra companies, like, the extra fans, like the Nintendo fans or the Microsoft fans all being there at the same time. Like this was just PlayStation stuff, and it was really cool.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely. Yeah, definitely, but maybe a little bit less hectic than E3. Go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, I just wanted to give props to JJ for covering the event and running through everything that he saw and stuff, because we don't know what it's like to actually be there. So thanks for that. But my question was actually for you, Rich. I basically just wanted to know your thoughts on, because you wasn't here last week, so I wanted to know your thoughts on The Last of Us and Uncharted.
All right, so let me go ahead and say this. Yeah, I wasn't here last week. I had to go take care of there was a friend that I had that I wanted to go see. It's been pretty sick. So I'm not going to go into that because I don't want to bring the tone of the podcast down. But pretty much, I did see the presentation. I thought that was a very nice strategy of Sony to show the Uncharted game first and to finish with The Last of Us 2. My only real complaint is that, the Uncharted thing was unexpected. We've been hearing rumors about The Last of Us 2 for a while. We've heard rumors about the Marvel versus Capcom as well before.
That was a big surprise that was spoiled by all the leaks. A lot of people were saying that would have been an awesome pop if nobody knew about it.
Oh yeah. I mean, for what I saw of the trailer, it's still I'm still intrigued by the game, but I don't know what the hell is going on with this Fox deal and why the X-Men are not in the game. I don't know if that's going to change later, but that's a missed opportunity because they were in the other game. So the fact they're not in this game is that kind of sucks.
That's a whole nother complicated issue. That's a whole nother podcast in of itself.
Absolutely. But to answer Gary's question, I thought the Uncharted demo was fantastic. I was not expecting that game. I knew that they said they were working on single player content. So to see that it was, of course, Gary's favorite character, because everybody know Gary has a crush on Chloe. That's her name, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's her name.
Yeah. I was thinking of Elena, but no, it's Chloe. Yeah, we know you have a crush on her, so I know you was excited to see her. So, but I didn't expect that, so I was happy to see that. I know a lot of people, when I looked at the reactions as I was watching the video, everybody was like, "Oh, this must be Tomb Raider." No, definitely not.
Interesting to see Nadine as well at the same time.
Oh yeah. So it's. I mean, I was surprised by that. Now again, I don't know as far as a release date. I don't know if they said anything about a release date because I didn't see anything on that presentation to let me know otherwise that it was coming out soon. So I don't really know when it's coming out. But I thought that was great. And then, of course, Last of Us 2, I thought the trailer was fantastic. I actually have article that I'm working on now that will be live on the site tomorrow, in which I talked about a few things regarding what I think that trailer means, because I saw a lot of people with theories online about different stuff that it could mean. Obviously, you know, the one takeaway I did take away from that particular conversation that Druckmann had after is he said that the story is about hate. And it's the exact opposite of the first game. So that lets me know, that gave me a lot of ideas. I'm not going to spoil it now because I want you guys to actually read the article that I post tomorrow. So look for that. It will be up by the time this show goes live on the site as well. But I thought the trailer was fantastic. I already saw, you know, I saw the live video reaction. I heard people screaming as soon as they saw the Firefly sign in the trailer. Like everyone was like, oh, oh. And then Naughty Dog. It was great. It was great. But I will say this. I mean, I wasn't at the show live, so I don't really know how the whole presentation was to actually be there in person. In terms of it being a community event, I give PlayStation props for putting together that event. But as I had told, because some people asked me online, as I have said online, if you was to ask me to compare this event to the E3 show, I mean, obviously, I didn't go to PSX, but I still thought the E3 presentation was good because it was hardly any talking. You know, Kojima said a couple of things, showed us Death Stranded, but the whole thing, it was like you're at a concert, and they're just playing nonstop hits, hit after hit after hit. And I was impressed with that. I was like, you know, every other developer needs to, you know, Microsoft and Nintendo, if they ever have any other conferences in the future, they should take that approach as well. Less talking and more games. That's all I want to see. But glad to hear that the show was fantastic. And I'm definitely looking forward to both the Uncharted DLC and The Last of Us 2. No doubt about it. So definitely give Sony props for all of that stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I just had to get your take on it because, you know, I know you wasn't here.
Oh yeah, I know a lot of people was curious what I had thought about it. I mean, I listen. I'm not a hater. I mean, I believe this was the third PSX that Sony has had, and they have set the standard for these types of shows. You know, I feel like when you are the leading console, you absolutely, you know, you have to maintain that momentum, and I think they've done a fantastic job. So I have to give them props for that. And since we already are mentioning Sony, I might as well continue to give them props, you know, and move on to the next topic, which was the news that came out this week that Sony has now sold 50 million PlayStation 4s, and they were also, not surprisingly, the top-selling console in November. So I wanted to ask you guys what you think about this, you know, because, I mean, again, you know, this year I thought there was a good year for releases for Sony. Obviously, though, next year I think it goes without saying there's a lot of stuff coming next year. Now, I know we don't really know the status of God of War. We don't know the status of Days Gone, and we do not know what's going on with Spider-Man. So I'm pretty sure maybe 2 of those 3 titles are going to get pushed to 2018. I don't know for sure. I know they're trying really hard to get God of War out next year. We'll have to see how that happens, but I just wanted to ask you guys if you had any thoughts on Sony now selling 50 million PlayStation 4s. So how about you answer the question first, Gary?
I mean, yeah, props to them. You know, they're doing good selling that many. And I guess it was expected to a lot of people that they would win November because of the release of PlayStation 4 Pro. So, you know, that's good for Sony. You know, much props to them. And as we move into 2017, there's definitely lots more to look forward to in terms of their games. You got Horizon, you got God of War, you got the Spider-Man game, and, you know, Persona 5 and other games like that coming. So there's a lot to look forward to next year. So they're in a good position, definitely.
Absolutely. All right. How about you, Max?
Yeah, I think it's great for them. I think that because everyone knew all these games are coming like kind of all throughout next year, I think a lot of people were waiting until like the PS4 Pro release and then the Black Friday sales, and they were like, all right, it's about time I pick one up to get ready for 2017, you know? I think it's great for them. It's smart, and yeah, like Gary said, it makes sense that they won with the hardware push. Hardware always sells when it's good. And that makes me think, I really wonder how the Scorpio is going to do. I have like no clue how that's going to do, because the Pro is, it's an incremental upgrade. It's not going to be this whole new console. So it was priced relatively well, and that's great for everyone. Whereas the Xbox Scorpio is probably going to be priced at like $500, $450, I mean, that's a topic for another time, of course, but it's interesting because it's hard to compare. Like, you can compare the two, but only so much,
Exactly, and I just want to add real quick. I know a lot of people, we've had shows in the past where people tried to, make some comments about what we said about the Scorpio. Again, I think we've always said on this show, you don't really know about this hardware until it actually comes out. So, we have to obviously see. I know Microsoft, if Phil Spencer has said some stuff recently that made people think, well, this is again going to be a half-step console. It's not going to be it's not going to be anything that they said, but again, we don't know any of that information. All we know is that we heard 6 teraflops. That's it. And if you ask me, what do I think of teraflops? I will say I don't care, because I don't even know what the hell a teraflop is. So we'll have to see about that. But yeah, it's I'm of the mindset that anytime any new hardware comes out, it's definitely going to be a top seller. That's why, I wasn't surprised with the PlayStation sales, because I know a lot of people picked up that Pro. We'll have to see what happens moving forward, though, December and then all the other months, because I know that right now Sony and Microsoft have announced $50 price drops on both of their consoles, starting from now until the end of the year. So I would love to see what's going to happen with that, But how about you, JJ? Any thoughts?
No, not really. To be honest with you, it's great to see them selling a lot still. I mean, I'm curious to know if that's the PlayStation 4 Slims, or that's going to be PS4 Pros specifically.
That might be a combination of both, I think. Yeah, because I think it's a combination of both. But here's one question I did want to ask. This wasn't a question that was in the initial topics, but I saw this news last night, and it caused me to think a little bit. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware, but apparently a Call of Duty Infinite Warfare sales, it didn't sell well. From what the report that I saw last night, it's, the sales are actually 50% below what it sold last year when Black Ops 3 came out. So I wanted to ask the question now, do you guys think that Final Fantasy has a chance of being #1? Because I think it does now if the Call of Duty sales are not that high.
Well, I don't know if it will be #1 because the cutoff date, because it came out the last day of November, and I can't remember which day is the cutoff day, but like I know it depends how many they sold day one, basically. So if they sold like a really crazy number that first day, then maybe. But like you still have your Battlefield and your Titanfalls that came out. So yeah, I don't know if Final Fantasy will be #1, but I do think that Call of Duty won't be #1, and I'm happy about that.
I do know that Final Fantasy, this was their biggest day one sales for any Final Fantasy game, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, it was? Okay, that's good.
That's why I said, I heard that too. That's why I think, it has a chance.
Well, keep in mind, I think a lot of games are taking a lot of hits in their sales and stuff, because lately a lot of games that people were expecting to sell big aren't. Like, I know there's Dishonored 2 and a few others that are taking that same type of hit. I wonder if Final Fantasy 15 will probably have the same thing. Granted, it's selling so much because, for obvious reasons and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. But see, with Call of Duty in particular, I know Call of Duty did not have a good reception because, and try to tell people, when they first released that trailer, the number of dislikes on the trailer compared to likes is absolutely ridiculous.
That's unfounded people being mean-spirited, though. I don't think that's really how a lot of people genuinely feel. I think a lot of that comes from just the Call of Duty hate specifically. Because a lot of people are trying to skew people to go get Titanfall 2 over Call of Duty just to spite Call of Duty, though. So I think you can't really tell a lot by that.
Well, no. But here's the thing about that is that the main thing, and this is a complaint that I do agree with, the multiplayer for Call of Duty Infinite Warfare it's very similar to Black Ops 3. And the futuristic setting. I mean, this is almost like if for someone who was outside looking in, this looks like it's the exact same game, the same experience. And you're telling people you want them to spend $60 for something that is very similar to how, obviously if they play the game, they will see it's a hell of a lot more to it. But the multiplayer, because I know when I was at the Call of Duty event earlier this year, when they showed that multiplayer trailer, there wasn't much excitement for it. Then when we saw the Modern Warfare trailer, everybody was excited to see that. So I kind of feel like they kind of knew, this is why they had the whole thing where they released Modern Warfare also, because people definitely were excited for that. When I tried to play that at the Call of Duty event, that was what took the longest wait out of everything. But the multiplayer for Infinite Warfare, people wasn't really too high on it. So I don't know if any of that impacted. I guess we'll find out in a couple of days when they release the sales numbers and we know what sold well. But you was gonna say something, Max?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, I know that on Twitter a lot of people are saying the campaign is really good, but the multiplayer I don't know much about. But from what I've been hearing, everyone's saying don't pass this up for the Call of Duty hate. This one is different, I promise. And I haven't seen that much push. Yeah, I haven't seen that much in the review. Yep. I haven't seen that much push for Call of Duty in a while. So that's interesting. But yeah, I have no thoughts on the multiplayer. I don't know anything about that.
Yeah, no, I think no doubt about it, the campaign, and a lot of times when they do the campaigns, it depends. Some of the campaigns are not good. This is the campaign that I've heard nothing but good things about. I haven't had time to play it yet. But yeah, I trust the campaign is great. Hell, I enjoyed the campaign for Advanced Warfare also. So I trusted the campaign is great, but a lot of people play this game primarily for the multiplayer. So they are going to be very vocal if they think the multiplayer is not quite what they want. So it is what it is, but I guess we'll find out. Like I said, we'll find out sooner or later. I mean, I believe the game still sold well enough to chart. Maybe, I mean, I will be surprised if it's not number one. But I wanted to acknowledge that, yeah, Final Fantasy, like you already said, Max, the Final Fantasy sales, I've heard nothing but positive things about the sales. So I'm very curious to see, where that lands on NPD.
Apparently, Hellmetal in the chat said that the cutoff day is November 26th. So then,
oh well, then forget it. Then it's not going to be counted. Then the November 26th.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah,
the next month. We won't hear about it till January then.
Oh, that sucks. All right, so yeah, Call of Duty probably be number one again. Okay, well, Gary, you can be happy about that. Battlefield will be on that list also.
I just don't want Call of Duty to be number one because the reason is like I feel like they need to kind of go back to the drawing board and innovate again because like they're just repeating the same formula over and over and it's kind of lazy to me. Even though they have different development teams on it, it's still ultimately the same formula. And it's great. It's great that, sometimes they have a really good campaign and that's cool. But I still feel like they just need to, give that game kind of overhaul or at least like take a gap year or something like that.
No,
They're never going to do it. They're never going to do it.
They definitely won't do that, but I do agree they do need an overhaul. I'll be very interested to see what Sledgehammer does because they are the ones that are working on the next game for next year.
Technically, they don't though. That's the thing because everything they've done up to this point, even this one that might have not sold as much as previous years and stuff, it still sells ridiculous numbers. We all have to realize and all have to kind of acknowledge that Call of Duty sells ridiculous sales numbers every time that it comes out. Even then, they don't really have to change a lot to still sell a ridiculous amount of copies of that game and stuff. And I don't think they are for a long time. I mean, granted, this one, they went even further into the future. And I could argue, after having played it for review, that this was the one that really changed up the most with the actual series, not mechanically, but kind of like setting wise in what they did and stuff. But essentially, even with it being the same game over the last couple of years and stuff, they still sold a lot of copies because people went out and bought it.
Oh yeah, definitely. No, absolutely. The games are going to continue to sell well. But the thing is that we will have to see. You make an excellent point that they don't have to change anything. But I also think from a competitive standpoint, and again, you saw the reaction, the overall reaction to Battlefield 1 has been, this is a fantastic game. The setting of World War I, they went back to, went back in time instead of forward. So I have to think that from a competitive standpoint, they're going to think, okay, well, maybe we should try something different. Maybe not all, because again, a lot of these futuristic setting games, I mean, the technology and weapons are cool, but I will be interested to see what they can do beyond that, because I've seen them do that now for the last several years. The Advanced Warfare one, that was the last game that Sledgehammer worked on for them. The campaign that had Troy Baker in it and House of Cards guy. Can't think of the name right now. Kevin Spacey. That's
Kevin Spacey. Yeah.
Yeah. That game was fantastic. I loved that campaign. The way it ended everything, that was great. And then, of course, but again, when you go from that to the other games, it's still somewhat of a future technology settings from the last couple of games. So I will be curious to see if they can try something different. Obviously, like you said, they don't have to change anything because it still has a core audience that's going to sell. But I think after they may not want to admit it, but I think they do see Battlefield as competition. And so I think that they may be like, okay, we need to try to change a few things up with the next, sooner or later. But we'll see how that goes. Yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I just wanted to ask that question because, we'll find out in a couple of days as far as the software numbers goes. But if Hell Metal, we'll give a shout out to Hell Metal. If that is accurate, what he said about that November 26th cutoff date, that is very, very unfortunate news to hear, because I wanted to see if Final Fantasy actually could outsell Call of Duty. Now, we'll have to wait until the next NPD, I guess, next month. We'll see. But any final thoughts on this topic before we move on to the next?
No, I'm good.
I just know that I'm leaning more towards a PS4 than I am a Scorpio next year so far.
Oh, wow.
Well, yeah. I was going to ask if you was going to get the PlayStation 4. I think now, it's a mandatory purchase, and now, yeah, that's good.
Totally. But that's it for me.
Okay, so we have a couple of more topics to get into. I want to get into this topic real quick because I heard this news, and I don't really know how to feel about the news quite yet. But apparently, Miyamoto has came out and said that Super Mario Run will require an always online connection. This is an endless runner game. It's going to be $9.99 and it's coming to iOS on the 15th, which is this upcoming week. Now, when asked about why it has this, his statement was that the decision was made as a way of deterring piracy. And basically for us, we view our software as being a very important asset for us. He also added that, so this is just based on the current development environment, a requirement that's been built into the game to support security and the fact that 3 different modes are connecting to the network and interacting with each other. So I just wanted to ask the question to you guys, do you think that this is a big deal? Or do you think it doesn't matter because it's Mario and it's going to sell no matter what?
My question is, how much data is that going to eat up? Like, does that, because people got data plans and stuff. So does this eat into your data the entire time?
That's a very good question.
Better connect to Wi-Fi. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Because the fact that you have to pay for the game too, it's not free to play. Like, Temple Run and a lot of other games, like they're just free to play, and then they have microtransactions or whatever. But you have to pay for this, and then you have to be always online.
But think about it this way, though. Here's the problem, though. Okay, and I think even with Mario and Nintendo's still going to come face to face with this problem. On the mobile market, there's a lot of stuff that happens that's very bad for developers specifically. Whether it's a race to the bottom for being like free, because basically everything on the iOS store, anywhere on the mobile market, stuff is free, and it's very tough to kind of convince people to pay for your game like that, even if it's 99 cents, because they could just go elsewhere and get it for free on the store. Or another store. The other thing too is that he's right. Piracy is very rampant on the mobile platform. A lot. Like, perfect example, right? Even for a game that's free, like Kingdom Hearts Unchained Key, or Kingdom Hearts Key, I should say, for iOS and Android. people were still pirating that game on a program called BlueStacks on their PC and still cheating on the game. Now, I think a lot of this has to do with not only that, but also the leaderboards, because obviously a lot of those leaderboards, especially if there's people cheating and taking advantage of the system, are totally going to break those leaderboards like that. I think it's also, as far as like data is concerned, or at least gathering data is concerned, I think it's also a way for Nintendo to kind of like figure out like, okay, how many people are actually buying these mobile games on this platform like that. That could also play into some data or maybe influence some decisions into some of other Nintendo mobile games like the Fire Emblem game, the Animal Crossing game, or maybe even starting up other projects down the line after Nintendo Switch or after those other 2 games come out eventually. I mean, there's a bunch of different reasons, I'm pretty sure, besides what Miyamoto is saying, but I think those are probably like the biggest ones.
Yeah, I'm just really interested to see how this game performs, because I mean the mobile market is really like, it's the biggest casual audience there is pretty much, and people aren't accustomed to paying $10 for a game on their iPhone.
But it's Nintendo.
So
they'll pay for Nintendo straight up.
Exactly.
That's a fact.
That's what I want to see. I want to see how many people actually do go and support the game and buy it. How many Nintendo fans are there out there that are actually gonna buy it? That's what I really want to see. So I can't wait till like we actually get some reports and analytics and stuff.
Also, as for the data question, I can't imagine it would use even close to the amount of data that like Pokemon Go uses, because Pokemon Go is constantly like tracking and uploading and downloading things, and people were using that without too much issue. Like from what I remember, there wasn't too much of a problem with the data, and they actually worked on it and made it even less as the game went on. And also just with the mobile market in general, a lot of people who play games lately, like a lot of those games are online all the time in the first place. Like, yeah, this is Nintendo and this is Mario, and Gary, like you said, you're paying $10, so that is a bit different. But I feel like this may be a vocal minority that would have the biggest issue with it, because I feel like a lot of people, like the casual market, aren't going to read into this at all, and they're just going to buy it and be like, oh, it's always online, whatever. I don't know. And it kind of sucks. I wish that wasn't the case, but I get why they're doing it, and I feel like it won't be as bad as an issue as people may think it will be. Could be wrong, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. I think you all made some very good points. Honestly, I think the security reasoning makes a lot of sense. I still will question a lot of other things outside of the security. The $9.99 price. I don't really know what to feel about that, because I haven't really purchased too many mobile games as of late. I know when I did purchase games, a couple of years ago, I mean, it still was a lot less than $9.99. But obviously, I'm going to try out the game this week, so I guess I will give my thoughts next week as far as how the game is. But I mean, I agree with pretty much everything you guys said. I mean, the security stuff is important. I believe that Nintendo, they're not going to put out a bad product. They try to take their time to put out a quality product every time. So it may be worth it in the end, but I'll give my thoughts next week and see whether or not it is worth it. But any final thoughts on this topic before we move on to the next?
I'm good.
Awesome. All right, so now this next topic is this is a very interesting one. This is going to be a fun one for you guys, and fans who are either listening or watching live. Please feel free to let us know what your thoughts are. But obviously, back at PSX, Capcom finally revealed Marvel vs. Capcom, and they made a statement after they made this after they revealed this, and pretty much they said that their goal is to now revive older series, bring back series that haven't had any recent iterations. So we wanted to ask the question, which games do you guys want to see them bring back? Which franchise do you want them to see revive and bring back to the forefront? So how about you answer this question first, Gary? Let us know maybe 2 or 3 franchises that you want to see them bring back.
I don't know if I got 2 or 3, but we were talking about this before the show, actually. Devil May Cry is definitely one I would like to see again. They actually rebooted that, and that game was really good, even though people didn't like the character design too much. But the actual game itself was good, and Ninja Theory did a great job with the game. So it would be cool to get another one of those. Besides that, I mean, I have to confess that I haven't played a lot of the games in the Capcom library besides Street Fighter. So yeah, I mean, I don't have three, unfortunately, but
Oh no, that's okay.
I know which games people are going to bring up though. I will say that I want to know what's going on with Deep Down. Where's that? Like, there's been no word on Deep Down.
Oh
And
man, that game is yeah, it's way deep down on Sony's schedule of releases.
Straight up.
yeah, I do have one more actually. Dragon's Dogma. That was Capcom,
Yeah,
right?
yes, that game. I've been waiting for them to release a part 2 to that game that I heard was in development, and then I never heard anything else about it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Yeah, okay. Oh, great pick. So how about you go next, JJ? Let us know which franchise you want them to bring back.
Well, on that topic, I think that the franchise they're probably referring to the strongest from everything that I saw and stuff, they're obviously talking about Mega Man. I think that's pretty obvious at this point. You saw that when they first showed Mega Man X in the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite trailer. That's pretty telling about where their mindset is with that franchise. I mean, you have that, you have all the stuff from Dead Rising 4. There's a lot of Easter eggs in Dead Rising 4 that are not only Mega Man stuff, but other Capcom franchises as well. Realistically, though, if I had like 2 or 3 to pick that I would love to see come back that I think have a realistic shot, to be honest with you, number 1, Onimusha. I think that with Neo being present, I think Neo is probably the one game that other people have said looks like an Onimusha game, and Capcom would be foolish not to capitalize on that. I feel like it'd be interesting to see something like that be approached or be talked about or be kind of attempted by them. It doesn't have to play like Neo. It doesn't have to play like a Dark Souls game. I think we got enough Dark Souls clones as it is, but to kind of get like a more modernized Onimusha game that probably controls like the Resident Evil remake in a sense, I think that'd be kind of cool to see that. I would love also to see Capcom versus SNK make a return. Now that we have Marvel versus Capcom, and that seems like a thing that's going to happen now, what's to stop Capcom versus SNK from happening? Because keep in mind, King of Fighters 13 just happened not too long ago. King of Fighters 13 now has the 3D models with the 2D gameplay. And I think that with the way that Marvel versus Capcom looks, and granted, it probably will never look like Street Fighter V with the way that level of detail is at, I think a Capcom versus SNK could actually be realistic now. Like maybe sometime after Marvel vs. Capcom, that would be realistic because, you don't want 2 versus games cannibalizing each other. That would be kind of interesting to see. Now, as far as my third, I mean, there's a number of different franchises you could go to. Devil May Cry is one of them. Breath of Fire is another one. There's a whole bunch that you could probably kind of, dive into. There's a very vast library of stuff that Capcom could dive into with that. But I don't know. I feel like this kind of started now with the resurgence now of Resident Evil 7. And then now we're getting Marvel vs. Capcom. I think the next one, more than likely, is if it's not Devil May Cry, it's going to be probably CVS, I think, as far as series. Keep in mind that's not franchises because you can't really count Capcom versus SNK as a franchise like that, or even any of the Versus games and such. But if we're talking like series, and that's like the terminology they're going to use, any one of those big titles will be up for grabs.
Oh no, I agree. Yeah, no, this sounds great. Some great choices all around. I think Mega Man is definitely going to happen. We have to see where they go with that. How about you, Max?
Oh, before he goes, somebody just mentioned this in the chat that we should acknowledge. Power Stone. There's a Power Stone reference in Dead Rising 4. That's another one that's long dead that I think could have a realistic shot.
Yeah.
Straight up, that's a good pick. That's a very, very good pick.
Yeah, I like that. That's a very good one. Yeah, great pick. So how about you, Max?
As for me, I am pretty much in the exact same spot as Gary is, where I haven't played most of the ones that haven't had a release in a while. Aside Devil May Cry, I absolutely love. I have a roommate that talks about Monster Hunter a lot, and that's something I'm interested in. And then Mega Man, I've never really played a Mega Man, but I know a lot about it from Colin Moriarty with Kind of Funny Games. He talks about it all the time. So I've actually learned quite a bit about it. But I would have to say if they do remake these games, like or not remake, but like come out with new titles for them, I guess that would be good for me because I would be able to try all these games and then possibly go back and play the older ones if I really, really like the new ones. So I think it'd be cool if they went ahead and did some of these games because I'm always up for trying new series and stuff.
Sounds good. Absolutely. As for my picks, I have to agree 100% with Dragon's Dogma because that was one game where I got a chance to experience the first game. I didn't finish the game, but I was just very, it drew me in. The fact that you can go against these huge creatures as the enemies, so on and so forth. It was a fun game. So I know that this is a game that they said they were going to be working on a sequel. They said that a long time ago, and we never got an update on that. So I will hope that that's one of the games they are going to bring back. Mega Man, yeah, definitely that. Because I recall playing those older games a long time ago. I'm not going to reveal what my age is today because we're not talking about that. But yeah, I played a lot of those games from the very beginning onward, and I just enjoyed what those games brought to the table. That's definitely a classic. So if they bring back an actually good game, I'm all on board for that, and no doubt about it. One other game too that I did play when I was a kid. A game that is ridiculously old, but it's a game that nobody mentioned. Final Fight, because the beat 'em up. I feel like the beat 'em up genre is maybe it's a little bit of a limbo now. You have the fighting games like Street Fighter, so on and so forth. But this is a game that when it came out way back in the 90s, I mean, I had a lot of fun with it. Now I don't know if I would say it's better than Streets of Rage or any of these other fighter games that have been out there because I don't really remember all of the game, but I do remember playing it and I had a good time with it when I was younger. So I'll be curious to see what a new game in that series would look like. Obviously, have to see whether or not they actually want to explore that. Let me throw in one honorable mention as well. There's one game that Mr. Lugo, it's a game that is very near and dear to his heart, and I'm pretty sure they are also working on that. That game is called Umbrella Corps. We need to get a sequel to that also.
They do that. I'm flying into Capcom headquarters and smacking somebody. That game, they should never do that again with the Resident Evil series. I think they're going with a good direction with RE7, and I'll be totally okay even if like RE8 or if they did a spin-off game similar to RE6, but never do that again what they did with Umbrella Corps. That was horrible.
I agree. I agree. I've seen the video footage, gameplay. A lot of people complaining about that game, so I'm surprised that game was actually made. But hopefully they learned their lesson. But I will say, before I jump back on Resident Evil, I will say as far as Dead Rising is concerned, I'm very curious to see where they take the series because 4 was good. Like I said at the beginning of the show, some of the issues with the story that's not necessarily a good thing. They need to do better the next time with that. But obviously, this game, if you have the Xbox One and you played Dead Rising 3 when it came out on the system, this game is significantly better than that game. I mean, about 10 times better. And it's actually at a decent resolution, not any of the 720p stuff. So I think they did a good job. And they did a much better job with Dead Rising 4, but the story stuff possibly needs to got to be improved upon in the future. But for what it's worth, still a great game. So I'm curious to see what they do with other games in that series. So I'm going to jump right back to Resident Evil because that actually was one of the main topics we were going to discuss this week. I know Capcom, they have some very high, I guess you could call them high expectations for this game because they had made a statement recently that said that they want Resident Evil 7 to sell 4 million on day one. So now I know that you already said, JJ, that there were a lot of people at PSX that were waiting to play this game. I know we experienced this at E3 as well because we couldn't get into the demo to play the VR game, the VR version of the game. So I want to ask you guys, you can answer this question first, JJ. Do you think Resident Evil 7 is going to sell well? I guess exceed their sales expectations?
I think it's going to do well. I don't know if it's going to exceed their sales expectations. I think it's going to do well, though. It's been generating a lot of buzz even since E3, where we saw, the reveal of it being Resident Evil 7, that kitchen demo and stuff. It's got a lot of people talking about it, and that line was huge at PSX for the people that were going there to see it, specifically for VR. I think that people are still going to buy it, on regular, and they're going to play the game like that. But clearly VR, or playing that game in VR, is the definitive experience of that game. So either way, though, I still think it does well.
Yeah, I think so. And as far as what you say about the VR experience, it is the definitive experience. I don't know how many people will survive that particular experience because, man, that game is, it's already a scary game. But when you play it in VR, you got to make sure that you got to be careful not to have a heart attack while you're playing the game because this is very, very, very intense, very, very, very intense from what I have seen when I actually did get to play it in VR. So how about you, Gary? What are your thoughts on Resident Evil 7 and whether or not you think it's going to sell well?
Yeah, to quote someone from the chat, because I agree with them, it will sell well, but I don't think it will sell 4 million on day one. And I think that's down to the fact that it is, it's focused on VR, and not everybody has bought into that VR experience yet. And from the outside looking into, a lot of people, they might think, oh, okay, this game is really designed for VR, but I don't have a VR headset, so maybe I'll pass on it right now and then play it later or something. So I think we'll get a lot of that when it comes out. So I don't think that it's realistic that it will sell that much on day one or even week one. So yeah, I don't think they'll meet that sales projection, and that's kind of outrageous. Like that, I don't know where they got that from, that sales projection. But hey, it is Capcom.
Well, hey, they have to be ambitious about their mindset. Yeah, as you said, as the person that left the comment, I'm not looking at the chat now, so I'm not sure who made that quote.
That was Gogol Poe, I think his name is.
Okay, well, shout outs to him. But let me just go ahead and say this right now that it's a very good point about what he said about, it does feel as though the game is geared towards VR. But I mean, the game is coming out on PC and Xbox as well. The VR, the PlayStation VR experience is a timed exclusive that was, because they had this information on the box where they said it's a timed feature for PlayStation VR. So, I guess when Microsoft announces that the, Scorpio has a VR device, then that'll be coming to that as well. But it's going to be out on all these other systems on day one also. So I think even though it does have the VR presence, it still could sell well on the other on PC and Xbox One also. But as far as reaching that sales number, I don't know about that. That's a bit ambitious. How about you, Max?
Like everyone said, I really don't think that it's gonna hit 4 million at all, or even come close to it day one. I'm sure it'll sell at least 1 million or even 2 million, but I've never really played a Resident Evil game, but from the outside looking in, isn't the fan base kind of divided right now? Because wasn't 6 way too actiony? So I wonder if a lot of those, a lot of the hardcore fans are going to wait as well, and that might impact sales. But I don't know for sure, because I know that the reception for this has been better than anything 6 ever got, but I don't know.
Well, you bring up a good point. I know they've had that demo. They've made a couple of 3 versions of that demo that they have released since they released the first demo. I believe that is going to help some of the perception. But yeah, I guess there was some people that did not like 6. I am possibly in a very rare circumstance one of the people that thought it was okay. It's not a horrible game. I thought it was still okay to some degree. Now, definitely nothing like a scary game at all, because at no point when you played the game did you ever feel like you had to feel fear for your life. When these games, when you have the weapons, it's like yeah, you feel like you're still a badass. You could take anybody, just like in The Walking Dead. The guys have weapons. They feel like they could take the zombies, so on and so forth. But this game, because I saw a lot of videos of this game last night, because there was a couple of videos online of the gameplay of the demo. I didn't try out the latest demo yet. They had a demo where the person was shooting one of the family members, so to speak, the evil family members, and nothing was working. The character was still coming to him, and then the creature also said, shooting is not going to work, and then proceeded to take a sledgehammer and knock the person out. So it's just like I think some interesting stuff in this game. Is still a lot of mystery behind what the game actually is. So we have to see how that goes. Did you guys think that there's been a decent amount of coverage for the game, considering it's supposed to come out next month? Or do you think that... Okay.
Definitively, yes. I could say there's a lot. There's a lot of people talking about Resident Evil 7.
Whoa.
Yep, I'd agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, wait, what? You was going to say something, Gary?
Now, maybe I'm just the odd man out, but I didn't even know it was coming out next month.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's actually...
I've been seeing stuff all over.
Yeah, man. Hey, listen, this game is actually coming out like 2 days before my birthday. So, I'm definitely looking forward to this.
The thing is, people aren't really talking about the game as a whole so much as they're talking about specific things about the game. Because if you remember, when the first demo came out, everybody that was talking about Resident Evil 7 was talking about the mannequin finger. That was like a puzzle that was unsolvable because of the demo. Didn't have a certain thing inside of it. Now, that's what everybody's talking about now, is that a lot of that stuff, there's alternate endings to the demo, apparently, and that if you get the best ending of it, it influences something in the main game. Like, those are the things that people are talking about.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah, because, like you said before, I do remember that mannequin finger scenario, and the fact that when that first demo came out, that felt like that was left unanswered. So yeah, I think it's a lot of mystery behind the game. Definitely looks, this looks like a classic Resident Evil game. A lot better approach. And I go back to when they first revealed this at E3. We was in the audience. It was like, what the hell is this? And when I found out Resident Evil 7, holy shit, yeah, that was a surprise for me. And I have to say that, yeah, the game is getting a lot. It is getting coverage, I would say. A lot of questions about what's going on behind the actual story, what it has to deal with. And I look forward to seeing the finished product. So are any of you guys planning on picking up the game?
I'm one of those people that'd be waiting for VR, but I think it looks really interesting. Unless it reviews like really badly, obviously, but...
Okay.
Yeah, if I ever get a PSVR, then I will get it. But no, I'm not gonna make an effort to get it.
Oh man. Okay, how about you, JJ?
Honest to God, I'm not so sure. I don't know. I might wait a little bit, because the thing is, there's so much to play, and there's so much to play leading up into next year, or at least the beginning of next year, that there's hardly any time. I will say this fourth quarter has given a lot of people a lot of backlogs, large backlogs of games to get through. Like, because there's other games I still want to complete. Like, I still want to complete Final Fantasy 15. I still want to complete and play The Last Guardian. I would still want to play all these other games. Horizon Zero Dawn comes out in February. I mean, that'll come out, a little bit after, I think, Resident Evil 7 and stuff. But the point is, like, everything's so bundled up together that I might just wait on some of these games, including Resident Evil 7.
Yeah, you make a good point, because the same week the Resident Evil 7 comes out, Kingdom Hearts HD 2.0 is supposed to come out. Yakuza 0 as well.
One.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of stuff.
Others I want to play.
There's a lot of stuff. Gravity Rush is also out the same month. So, I mean, it's a lot of stuff coming out in January. And then February, you have Horizon Zero Dawn, Nihon, For Honor. The list goes on. So we'll have to see about that. But I will say I'm definitely interested in the game. Obviously, we'll have to see how the final product turns out. But I won't be surprised if that's a game that I do pick up, in the beginning. I know VR is the definitive experience, but if I don't have PlayStation VR at launch and the game is, received pretty well, I'm just going to pick it up. I'll probably experience the VR later. But I have to definitely prepare for that because, as I said, the VR experience is like, you get real scared behind that stuff, So, but we'll see what happens. We'll know sooner or later next month whether or not Capcom reaches this goal. I do think it's going to sell well, as the commenter has already said, but I don't think it's going to reach that sales number, especially not on day one. No, I don't think so, but we'll see about that. So, any final thoughts on this topic before we wrap up the show?
I'm good.
I'm good.
All right, so we thank you all for checking out this week's show. This is actually going to be our episode before last because next week we're going to be talking about a lot of 2017 things, some thoughts that we have about that upcoming year. And we're also going to be doing a podcast talking about the best and worst games of 2016. So stay tuned for more information on that as the week goes on. But yeah, you guys have any final shout outs? How about you go first, Max?
Not much. As always, thanks to everyone in the chat. It's always fun chatting with everyone, talking about the topics. Other than that, I'll see you guys next week.
Awesome. How about you, JJ? Final shout outs?
Just a shout out to everybody in the chat. Thank you for the warm welcome back. I know I haven't been on the last few episodes. It's just been a little bit hectic, is putting it lightly. It's just been absolutely insane over the last month or so, going to different events and doing a bunch of different work and such for here on the site. I hope you guys are enjoying the reviews, all the editorials, all the video stuff, the exclusive content we have going up. I have more going up very, very soon, as early as later this week into next week, for some of the stuff that I saw right before PSX that I'll be able to talk about on the next co-op podcast. I hope you guys get a chance to check out the sample of Turn-Based that Gary put up not too long ago, that me, Max, and Gary all recorded not too long ago, talking about Final Fantasy 15. And if you haven't already, check out our Patreon. Our Patreon page. Become a patron of our content, because there's a ton of exclusive content that's on there that you guys are going to love, including Turn-Based, including exclusive podcast episodes and other topics and other things that we discuss that's exclusively for patrons that helps support us and such. But shout out to all of you guys who are supporting us, keeping us in the game, allowing us to keep doing what we love to do for all of you, and just keep spreading word, keep commenting, keep talking in the chat, keep sending us tweets, send us questions, comments, concerns all over the place, and we'll keep bringing you guys some amazing stuff to enjoy.
Absolutely. Well said. And how about you, Gary? Any final shout outs?
Yeah, of course, shouts to all our patrons. That's M. Collins, Sean Gority, Michael Hatcher, Stephen Foran, Mauricio Aguilar, and Himdil. And shouts to all the guys that joined us in the chat. We got Wesley in there, we got Gogo Poe, we got Michael Dobson, we got Hell Metal. Shouts to all those guys, all the people that joined us. There was quite a few commenters today, so shouts to all those guys in the chat. And yeah, we did do a Patreon exclusive episode of Turn-Based, and that's up there right now, so you can get access to that for as little as $1. And yeah, that money goes to supporting the website and helping us to keep going and everything, with all the different costs for the server and the trips that we go to and all that different stuff. So we appreciate the help, guys, and I will put a sample of that Final Fantasy episode at the end of this in the audio version, like I said before. So keep listening for that. But that's it from me.
That's awesome. And I'd like to also give a shout out to everybody that is in the comment section that were watching the show live, as well as all the Patreon supporters. We appreciate the support, and we will continue to bring you guys great content for as long as we are running things. Yeah, so we'll be talking to you very soon about our Game of the Year picks. Stay tuned for that, and we'll talk to you all next week. Be safe and have a great rest of the week. Talk to you later.